I'm here today on a farm in County Kilkenny where grass covers are still running quite high for the time of year. In the shed behind me this time of year would normally be full with cows indoors, but thankfully they are still at grass. However, grass growth over the last week in particular has declined substantially, and currently demand is outstripping supply by probably a factor of 2 to 1. So it's really only a matter of time as to when we start to house cattle. And on most farms you'd hope that on dry ground 60% would be closed off by now, and on heavier ground maybe 80%, particularly where there's high stocking rates as well. When the cows come indoors, I suppose the next question that people will be asking is, when should I dry off? I would say that in the absence of quotas, the most prudent time to dry off is 60 days from calving. That's the optimum in terms of maximising the next lactation yield from the cow. If you make it shorter than that, the cow will suffer and you'll have less yield. If you have more than that, you'll probably calve down in excess condition, which brings its own metabolic issues. The other big question then is, I suppose, when it comes to drying off, what to do. Our advice is to do milk cultures, make sure you're using the right antibiotic and you target the bacteria present correctly. A number of people will be milking on for quite a while. Milk price versus feed price is very attractive today, particularly with high solids currently on average running over 4% protein, about 4.5 fat at this point in time, so it brings the milk price over 40 cents. At that price it pays to feed. A number of people have been asking, what should I feed? I think if you're looking at silage 68, 70 DMD, I would say you should be operating at, for 10 to 12 litres, 3 to 4 kgs. For every 2 litres above that, allow an extra kg of feed. I think that's kind of the ideal place to go. The most important thing is that you look at your overall fodder situation, because in the dry cow period is the best and easiest time to deal with any deficit. And it's supposed to make life easy and to use a simple rule of thumb. If you're short 10% of what you'd like to have, then the best thing to do is to reduce silage intake during the dry cow period by 20% and substitute that with straights or a forage replacer type feed. I suppose we find in the last few weeks, at our open days in particular, there's a massive variation in silage quality. And for every 5 units of DMD you drop, that requires an extra kilo of feed to maintain yield. But with the big variation that's out there, I would advise people particularly to check any bales that were made in October. They seem to be particularly challenged in terms of preservation, and therefore probably should be used first to minimise potential for further deterioration. Just behind me here is a bit of maize silage. On a lot of farms this winter there will be products not used previously, whole crop silages, maize silage, and even sometimes beet crops and so on. The important thing to remember is they will need a different mineral product than your standard grass silage mineral. The big issue with dry cow mineral programs is to make sure we don't run into problems post-calving. The last thing we want is cows down with milk fever and stuff like that post-calving. In general, as a rule of thumb, whole crop silage, maize silage has about 50% of the mineral content of grass silages. So they need both a higher feeding rate and a more specialist mineral formulation to balance that. The same applies actually to sugar beet, whether it is in cattle or in cows. You actually need a mineral to suit that situation. So it's important to take that into account. And just also maybe to help you with planning for the winter and covering the main issues, we have a technical booklet available on fodder planning for the winter period, which you can pick up in your local branch or from your local business manager, which will help you with the key issues over the next few months. Thanks.